Michelle Torrio, and this is the Be Mindful podcast. Hello, and welcome back to the Be Mindful podcast. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about rewiring the mind. This is something that's so important to me that I love to share about, and it's going to be a little bit vulnerable, but I promise you will have so much value leaving this episode. Maybe it might even change the way you approach life, because I just kept wondering, okay, what would my next episode be? But I knew I wanted to share part of my story, and I also wanted to share my knowledge of the brain. You know, we go through life using our brain every single day. I'm sure we all know that. Yet we have never actually been taught how it works and how much power we have, like what we can do to improve our brain. God created each and every one of us so uniquely, but where we're the same is our ability for our brain to be adaptable. God gave us this gift. Throughout school, we're taught about the importance of physical health, but not brain health. Mental health, memory, emotional regulation, habits, it all comes back to the brain. As I mentioned earlier, our brain is adaptable and it changes based on our thoughts, our repeated behaviors, and stress levels. If you've listened to my other episodes, I may sound like a broken record, but I will repeat it till the end of time. And that is, what we repeatedly think and do strengthens neural pathways. And who you are from within will attract from the out, because when you change your mind, it changes the outcomes of your life. It's important to remember that your brain is always listening, even when you're not consciously paying attention to it. Now, before I share actionable steps you can take today to rewire your mind, I do want to share a bit of my story and why this topic is important to me. It'll just tie everything together and give you a bigger understanding of why and how I know what I know. So to start, when I was 16, my grandma, I called her Mama, she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. If you don't know what Alzheimer's is, this is a progressive brain disorder caused by dementia. Alzheimer's disease slowly destroys your memory, your way of thinking, and even performing small tasks. It was so heartbreaking. And watching someone you love slowly lose pieces of themselves changed the way that I think of the brain. For example, she would call me and ask me for maybe someone's number, and then she would call me again like 2 seconds later, asking me for the same exact thing, even though I just told her. We even had to take her keys away because there were moments where she would drive somewhere and then she wouldn't even know where she is. And sometimes she would even forget what year she was in. This was my first real exposure to how fragile and powerful the brain is. And I remember just being so shocked at that age of 16 and seeing my grandma and just so confused, like how her brain could forget all these important memories and all these simple things. Fast forward to being an undergraduate at UCSB, I was struggling emotionally. So this was when I was around maybe like 19, 20 years old. I remember this was the first time I also went to therapy, and I was diagnosed with depression. This was the first time I was really learning how to navigate my own mental health, and it forced me to ask deeper questions. While at the same time, while I was going through this, I was taking a biopsychology class. If you don't know what biopsychology is, it's a core part of neuroscience. So it studies the biological basis of behavior, thoughts, and emotions. This focuses on how the brain and the nervous system influences mental processes and action. I not only failed this class because I was mentally checked out, but because I was so focused on improving my mental health that when I retook it, I aced that shit. But this class was such a pivotal moment because something in me was telling me to change my major. I had plans to be a dentist and open my own office, and that was my plan since I was 10 years old. I was so young when I chose this career, and to just change it being in my college career, I was terrified. I was currently majoring in biological sciences, and I kept questioning if this was the right route for me. But you know what? I said, fuck it, and did it anyways, because biopsych gave me a spark I no longer had with dentistry. Did I have it figured out? Definitely not. I was just so inspired to understand what was happening internally and neurologically. Little did I know that my path would change a lot. And fast forward to now, didn't realize that I wouldn't be in a career that was focused on brain health, but I still read, educate myself, and incorporate these practices and still enjoy sharing my knowledge. I also became a certified life and success coach and a hypnosis practitioner, so having a biopsychology background has helped a lot. But that's a story for another day. So what did I learn about the brain, and what steps can I give you today so you could start rewiring your mind? What I learned is chronic stress impacts memory and emotional regulation. It also can lead to diseases. Now, I'm not saying that the stress that my mama encountered created this disease, but it's possible. Stress is the number one leading causes of death. So if we're able to have emotional flexibility, this can improve our overall health so that we're not in constant stress. Another thing that I learned, depression isn't a character flaw. It's often neurological and environmental. Environment is a very big factor, and I know sometimes we can't control that, at least sometimes in the situation that you're in. And this is where you can challenge yourself to use the resources you currently have, pray to God, ask Him for help, and focus on how you can improve or go to a new environment. Even if it's going to a new environment every week to kind of get your mind to reset, do that. Try to be able to find areas that kind of get you out of that depression feeling. When you're depressed and you don't choose to work on yourself, that becomes your normal, and it gets really, really hard to get out of it, coming from someone who's been there. Another thing that I've learned is that small habits compound over time. Just like I said, when you are depressed and you stay depressed, you don't work on yourself, you use that as your new normal. And so whatever habits you're doing daily, that is going to impact how you feel every single day. So really analyzing how you respond to life, how you respond to yourself, like what are the daily habits that's impacting your life, that is going to help you change your life. You can't change without awareness. So now let's go into the steps on how you're going to start rewiring your mind so that you can change your life to whatever you want. A tip I want you to remember as you work on improving yourself is to not overhaul your life. Your brain responds to consistency, not perfection. So what I mean by that is that you do not need to do a full 360. Like, we could take baby steps. That's the whole point of creating consistency. You're going to feel very uncomfortable in the beginning. So changing cold turkey doesn't work for everyone, So we need to find ways that will work for you, and starting slow is the way. So the first step, awareness. I know I mentioned this briefly already, but awareness of specifically your daily habits and your thought patterns. What are the thoughts that you think of often? How are you feeling often? Your thoughts create your emotion. So if you think of an event that happened that was maybe traumatic when you were younger, it's going to impact you internally. Your emotions are going to be impacted. And then the same thing, if you think of maybe the best birthday you've ever had, or maybe you went on a trip and it just gives you all these exciting, fun emotions and just gives you joy, right? That is how powerful our mind is. And your mind can't predict the difference between it being reality and when it's not. So this is why the awareness of your thought patterns can make a huge impact into your mental health. Awareness is always the first step, because that's when you can start creating change. Another step to rewiring your mind is really being intentional with rest and recovery for your brain. There's this quote that I heard when I was younger, and it's, you can always be doing something. And it didn't really leave the best impact for me, because it felt like if I'm not doing something, I needed to be. And when I wasn't, I felt guilty. But rest for your brain is key. And especially today, because we are so impacted by technology, there's probably music in the background, TV playing in the background. Maybe you have social media up while you're eating. There are so many moments where our brain just doesn't have a moment to relax because we are so overstimulated. Do you ever feel like you're not really doing too much, but yet you feel so overstimulated? it's possible that you just haven't given your brain the time to quiet down. And this is where prayer and meditation can step in. It allows you to have moments of silence, and it allows you to kind of see what's going on in your mind. So for example, if you put your phone down right now, turn off everything, and you sit there in silence, like, how is your mind responding? Like, really become aware of that. Is it hard to quiet your mind? Is it hard to stop thinking about all these different things? Practice quietness, practice being still. There is so many benefits to that. And if you really need to, there are guided meditations online. There are guided prayers online. There's even breathing exercises that you can do that will benefit rest and recovery for your brain. It's possible for us to train our mind to go in rest and recovery mode. For some of us, that's just really hard. But again, just like anything, it just takes practice. And of course, sleep is a big part of rest and recovery, but that can't be the only thing. And that's exactly why I keep bringing up and reminding you to practice being still and practice quieting the mind. Another step that you could take to rewiring your mind is to learn something new. Learning something new strengthens neural pathways. So if you're trying to figure out a new hobby or want to do something that you've been thinking of doing, and I want to be really clear that this doesn't have to be a brand new activity if there's like nothing you could think of, but really challenge yourself to do things differently. So for example, maybe when you brush your teeth, you always have like a specific pattern that you do. You can try something new, like brush with your other hand that maybe is not as dominant, but that is actually creating new neural pathways in your brain. Another way is, let's say on your way back home from work, you take a completely different route to get home. We weren't made to do the exact same thing every single day, so it could be fun to go a different route and then create something new. It's great for our brain and can create, like I said, new neural pathways. But if you really want to change your life and create a new habit where it strengthens your neural pathways, repetition, that is key. And our brain expects predictability. So if you want to be disciplined and consistent, you have to teach your brain what is consistent, like what do you do often. So for example, if you want to change the way you think, then you have to be intentional with that. And in my last episode, you can go back to that one, I do talk about that in affirmations and how that does help rewire your mind. So you can check out that episode if you missed it. So just to recap on what we just talked about and the actionable steps that you can take is 1, awareness. This is actually something I used to coach my clients on because I wanted them to understand that in order for you to do anything or make any changes, you do have to have the awareness of what you're thinking of daily. What are your habits? Second thing we talked about is rest and recovery, bringing in prayer and stillness. Like this really calms your nervous system. The third one is learning something new, doing something new. Knowing all this to be able to rewire your mind is through practice and doing these things over and over while giving yourself grace and recognizing that rewiring your mind takes time. There are specific pathways that are so strong in your brain that it's going to take time to create new ones. What's great about this is that understanding your brain allows you to partner with it, not fight it. The more you understand your brain, the more compassion you have for yourself. Like I said, give yourself some grace and patience as you navigate and learn about yourself. And as you continue to practice, you will feel the difference. You will see the outcomes in your life, but have patience with yourself. Before I end this episode, I do want to invite you to reflect on one habit or a thought that you want to become more aware of this week. Maybe this is a habit or a thought you want to let go of, or maybe it's a habit or thought you want to incorporate in your life. Like maybe you want to start something new. Maybe you've been wanting to get better at doing specific routines every week. So for example, one thing that I hate doing every single week is laundry. That is the one thing I don't like doing because it takes so much time. However, it has to be done. So this last year, like me and my husband have been so on point with pretty much doing laundry once a week on specific days. That way it does not pile up. And we're not perfect. There have been times, of course, it has piled up, but we are in so routine that it's just a habit now. And that habit has become a strengthened neural pathway because my brain understands that this is predictability and that, okay, this is going to happen again. Rewiring my mind completely changed my life. It's helped me improve my mental health. It's helped me have better emotional flexibility. It's allowed me to be better at responding with my emotions. And it was truly a lesson that began with my mama. My mama had Alzheimer's. She also had cancer. And it was such a dark, dark time. But that's also a time where I got to find light. Like I got to learn that even through the darkness, light came out of it. She helped me focus on improving my mental health, and she helped me help others. I've coached many different clients to improve their life and improve their mindset. And here I am now on a podcast helping other people and providing knowledge. So even though she's gone and I miss her so much, I thank her because I'm able to do what I love and share what's important to me to others. So if you listen to this entire episode, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be vulnerable. Thank you for listening. And I hope that my story inspired you and helped you understand, like, this is why our brain is so important. This is why our mental health is so important. And I'm going to do everything I can to continue sharing these tips and what I know, because I know it's only going to improve people's lives, even if it improves one person's life. And that is all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you have a beautiful day or a beautiful night. And don't you forget to be mindful, because who you are from within will attract from the out. See you in the next episode. Bye.